Settling the work I was doing in the nutrition lab finally made sense alongside the work I was doing on the yoga mat. Now, I realize that if a person is living in a high stress social environment or carrying unaddressed psychological trauma, their biological body is going to stay in a state of high alert, no matter how much kale they eat. The biopsychosocial model is the bridge. It's the framework that finally explains why we can't treat that period without treating the person. This isn't just a theory to me anymore. It is the missing link in menstrual equity. It's the reason we have to fight for policy change and for mental health access just as hard as we fight for better nutrition. Because until we address the whole human, we aren't truly solving the problem.
They been cramping my style all week. Craving chocolate trees, checking pants, checking seeds, sipping herbal tea and fighting for menstrual equity. Hey, I kick Cramp's ass. 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 You're now tuned in to the Kick Cramp's Ass podcast with your host, Brittany Walker, advocating for menstrual equity, period poverty, and womb wellness. New episodes on Menstruation Mondays.
Greetings, beautiful beings. Welcome back to the Kick Cramps Ass podcast. Happy Menstruation Monday, and welcome to the official premiere of season 4. I am your host, Brittany Walker, but I go by B. And before we dive into today's deep dive, can we just take a collective breath and celebrate? This community has grown in ways that I never imagined. Because of your listens, your shares, and your reviews, Spotify officially named us a 2025 Rising Star and Fan Fave. And drum roll, please. For season 4, we are officially joining the iHeartRadio family. This means our mission of menstrual equity is going national and even globally in a massive way. But there's another reason this season feels like a brand new chapter. For the last 2 years, I've been living a double life. By day, I'm your plant based nutritionist and yoga teacher, and by night, I've been buried in research papers and clinical case studies. I am so thrilled to announce that I am graduating this May with my Master of Science in Psychology with a concentration in health psychology. This journey hasn't just been about getting another degree. It's been about finding the missing piece of the menstrual health puzzle. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the framework that changed my life and my practice, the biopsychosocial model. We like to kick off each episode with an I am power statement, with I representing inspiration, A representing affirmations, and M representing manifestations. And the I am power statement for today is I am a holistic being of connected systems. I recognize that my mental state, my physical body, and my social environment all speak to one another. I am empowered by the knowledge that healing my cycle requires nurturing my whole self, mind, body, and community. Now, we also like to give a quote of the day, and today's is Your period is just not a biological event, it is a monthly report card of your entire lived experience, biological, psychological, and social. And that's by me, Brittany Walker. We are going to go ahead and take a sip of our good old cramp elixir, and we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with you. Tired of clunky remote recordings? Level up with Riverside FM Pro. Get studio quality audio and video, effortless editing with powerful AI tools, and seamless live streaming and collaboration. Become a pro of Riverside.fm and unlock the full potential of your content. Sign up today and make your voice heard. Visit the link in the description of this episode to discover more. Now, back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break. We hope that you enjoyed it. Now, when I first started my journey in the nutrition world, I'll be honest with you, I was a total biological thinker. I was laser focused on the physical mechanics of the body. My advice was very direct. Eat these specific alkaline foods. Stay away from these inflammatory ones. And for heaven's sake, read every single line on your labels, nutrition labels, your toiletries, just making sure you understood the ingredients and what you were putting into your body. And don't get me wrong, nutrition is foundational. It is the fuel for the engine. But as I spent more time working with people, I started to see something that the textbooks hadn't fully prepared me for. I noticed that some of my clients could follow the exact same plant based protocol and change similar lifestyle habits, yet have two totally, completely different experiences with their periods. One would see total relief, while the other was still struggling with debilitating cramps and heavy cycles. I started asking myself, what is the missing variable? Why isn't a perfect diet a guaranteed fix for everyone? As we mentioned before in our book, over the last seasons of the podcast, we noticed that more than just food contributed to your menstrual cycle. What you're putting in and on your body as far as toiletries, household products, the menstrual hygiene products that you use. Also, mindfulness practices. Are you journaling to release stress? Are you participating in yoga or doing daily exercise or movement with your body? Are you going out in nature? Are you getting adequate amount of vitamin D? So, that curiosity is what pushed me to dive into health psychology. And just let me tell you, it was like someone finally turned the lights on in a room I had been sitting in for years. I discovered that our health isn't just a cold, clinical series of chemical reactions of a math equation of calories in versus calories out. Instead, our health is a vibrant, ongoing, 24/7 conversation between our biology, our minds, and the world that we actually live in. That was my aha moment, that epiphany set in. That was the day that I found the biopsychosocial model. Suddenly, the work I was doing in the nutrition lab finally made sense alongside the work I was doing on the yoga mat. Now, I realize that if a person is living in a high stress social environment or carrying unaddressed psychological trauma, their biological body is going to stay in a state of high alert, no matter how much kale they eat. The biopsychosocial model is the bridge. It's the framework that finally explains why we can't treat that period without treating the person. This isn't just a theory to me anymore. It is the missing link in menstrual equity. It's the reason we have to fight for policy change and for mental health access just as hard as we fight for better nutrition. Because until we address the whole human, we aren't truly solving the problem. So let's get into the body of all this, the gist of all of this. What exactly is the biopsychosocial model, or BPS as I like to call it? In the medical world or the psychology world, we traditionally use the biomedical model, which says illness is just a physical malfunction. The BPS model says, wait a minute, human beings or even menstruators are way more complex than that. Let's break down the three pillars. The bio, which is the biological side of the model. This is the physical foundation. It's your hormones, so estrogen, progesterone, and the big one, cortisol, which helps you control your stress levels. It's your genetics, your gut health, your microbiome, and your nutrition. If your bio pillar is a little shaky. Maybe you're dealing with high inflammation from your diet. Your period is going to reflect that. The second pillar is the cycle part of the model, the psychological. This is your internal landscape. It's your emotions, your thoughts, and your personality. But more importantly, it's your perception of pain and your history of stress. If you've been told your entire life that periods are supposed to hurt, your brain actually primes your nervous system to feel that pain more intensely. Even your coping mechanisms. How do you feel about your period? Do you expect it to be a time of pain? And then the third pillar of the model is the social, which is the societal. This is the world around you. It's your access to care, products, what we call menstrual equity. It's your social economic status, your cultural traditions, and even your physical safety. If you were a military spouse dealing with a deployment or a student facing housing instability, that social stress filters down to your physical body. Do you have access to clean water and period products? Are you experiencing period poverty? What does your culture say about menstruation? Is there a stigma that makes you feel unclean? Now, let's put these pillars into the context of your menstrual cycle. Your brain and your uterus are in a 24/7 group chat. If your psychological pillar is under fire, say you're working a high stress job, your brain sends a signal to your biological pillar to produce more cortisol. High cortisol tells your body it's not a safe time to bring a child into the world, which can delay ovulation or make your luteal phase the week before your period feel like a literal emotional roller coaster. Then add the social pillar. If you are in a workplace or at a school that doesn't allow for cycle syncing or flexibility that adds more psychological stress, which further disrupts the biology. You see how it's a loop? You can't just eat more kale to fix a cycle that is being disrupted by a toxic social environment or unaddressed trauma. How do these pillars interact during your cycle? Think of it again as a 24/7 group chat between your brain, your gut, and your ovaries. Let's look at the luteal phase that week before the period starts, like we just mentioned. Biologically, your progesterone is supposed to rise, then fall. But if your psychological pillar is under heavy stress, maybe you're grieving a loss or struggling with anxiety. Your brain stays in a fight or flight mode that triggers the biological pillar to keep cortisol high. We just mentioned about the high stressful job, or maybe sending a safety signal to your body about bringing a child into the world, affecting your ovulation. Again, guys, high cortisol steals the raw materials your body needs to make the progesterone. So now, because of a psychological stressor, you have a biological progesterone deficiency. This leads to heavier bleeding and worse mood swings. Then we layer on the social pillar. Now we know that was a lot of information to sit with, so we're going to go ahead and cut to a quick commercial break. Let's go ahead and digest some of this information, and then we will be right back with you. Periods got you down? Kick cramps to the curb with Pilates for periods. Our online program combines targeted Pilates, soothing yoga, calming meditation, and breathwork to help you manage your menstrual cycle naturally. Feel stronger, calmer, and more in control. Reclaim your comfort. Visit Pilates for Periods YouTube page linked in the description of this episode and start your journey to a more manageable cycle today. Now, back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break. We hope that you all enjoyed it. So I know some of you are thinking, B, this sounds deep, but is there proof? The answer is a resounding yes. The idea of using the biopsychosocial model for menstrual cycles is not new information. We are seeing that period poverty and the cultural stigma surrounding menstruation act as direct biological stressors. This was addressed over 20 years ago, 2 decades back in 2006, when the Society for Menstrual Cycle Research raised awareness about the menstrual experience as a biopsychosocial phenomenon that contributes to development of the self concept in individual women and to more general notions of what being female is all about. Even back then, 20 years ago, 2 decades, researchers argued that while there may be more discourse today about menstruation, it has not yet been redefined as something positive, but rather is full of contradictions. Now, fast forward to today, 2026, and the data has only become more specific. A groundbreaking study published in Biopsychosocial Medicine in 2025 looked at over 1,500 mothers to see how we can buffer the effects of severe menstrual symptoms. They found that psychological flexibility, our ability to stay present and open even when in pain, act as a powerful moderator. The researchers noted that higher psychological flexibility scores were associated with increased positive parenting, even in the presence of worsened PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder symptoms. Now, what that means, guys, is if you have really, really severe PMS symptoms, okay? Now, I'm going to link an episode in the description of this episode from a past season where we explain exactly what PMDD is, or even on our website at our resource center, we have an actual medical terminology section that also explains what the disorder is. Now, this proves that our psychological pillar can actually protect our relationships and our mental health, even when our biological pillar is struggling. But we are also looking at the brain's reward system. A 2026 study in Biology of Sex Differences titled Motivation and Reward Processing Across the Menstrual Cycle, a biopsychosocial perspective, explored how our hormones talk to motivation. They found that during certain phases of the menstrual cycle, menstruators may report symptoms of negative mood or decreased motivation, which indicates an increased risk for affective disorders associated with altered motivational behavior. Why does this matter? Because it means that when you feel unproductive or unmotivated during your luteal phase, it's not a personal failure. It's a biological shift that we can manage through personalized biopsychosocial interventions. Even something as simple as tracking your menstrual cycle to keep up when your phases are coming. Knowing when those phases are is super important as well. Now, when we combine this with the social data, like the work of the Ohio Coalition for Menstrual Equity, which you all will learn more about in our next week's episode, the picture becomes so clear. We cannot treat the period in a vacuum. Whether it's 2006 or 2026, the science is telling us the exact same thing. To heal the menstrual cycle, we must address the contribution of context to contemporary menstrual cycle experience. We are literally seeing that social justice and psychological tools are just as much medicine as any supplement.
Fly. Do you want? Yeah. Fly. Wanna fly. Do you wanna fly? Wanna fly. Let go of all the things that hold you down. Used to be so easy.
Now, back to the show. So, how do we use this BPS model to actually kick Cramp's ass? We have to stop looking for a magic pill and start looking for our magic pillars. For the bio pillar, stick to your plant based, alkaline leaning nutrition. Focus on magnesium rich foods like seeds, nuts, leafy greens, and dark chocolate. We actually love cacao instead, which is a great superfood packed with nutrients. Biology loves consistency. Be disciplined and focused. Keep your blood sugar stable along with your cholesterol, and you'll keep your hormones from spiking. Now, for the psycho pillar, we have to calm the group chat. This is where my work as a yoga teacher comes in. When you practice yoga, Tai Chi, or even vagal toning, you aren't just stretching your muscles. You are sending a signal to your brain that says, "We are safe." If your brain feels safe, your hormones can flow. Try taking 10 deep belly breaths every day after you first get up during your luteal phase. Feel free to also release your thoughts in a journal or through meditation or breath work. We have Pilates for Periods, which is our mindfulness and fitness program offering yoga, Pilates, meditation, and breath work that can help you out and guide you along the way as well. We were a registered yoga teacher at 200 hours, but since our last season ended, we have acquired our 500-hour certification, giving you even more skilled guidance to help you along the way through your mindfulness journey. Now, for the social pillar, audit your environment. Who is in your social circle? Does your workplace honor your need for rest? If not, advocacy is your best medicine. Setting a boundary, saying no to an extra project when you're on day one of your cycle is a psychological intervention. You are protecting your bio by managing your social environment. Now, we talked about before in the past, boundaries are so important. Distractions, set boundaries with people, places, things, scenarios. It does not matter. Now, as we wrap up this season 4 premiere, I want you to remember that you are not a walking hormone profile. You are a complex, beautiful, interconnected being. Your period is a reflection of your whole life. Let's ground ourselves in our powerful statement for this season one last time. I am a holistic being of interconnected systems. I recognize that my mental state, my physical body, and my social environment all speak to one another. I am empowered by the knowledge that healing my cycle requires nurturing my whole self. Thank you for being here. We want to send gratitude out to all of you for tuning in on this beautiful Menstruation Monday. Thank you for making us a Spotify Rising Star and fan fave. And thank you for choosing to prioritize your wellness. Check the show notes for a link to how to stay informed and access to stay in contact with us, whether that's our newsletters, joining our Pilates for Periods page, following our Substack, Instagram, YouTube. We will have all of that information in the description of this episode. And we are so grateful for you for tuning in to this season 4 premiere. And until next week's episode, we manifest a positive, productive, and peaceful remainder of the week ahead and menstrual journey ahead. And we will be speaking to you during our next episode. Peace.